Okay, Heather, what was I supposed to be reading to him? I got it back up here.
Okay, the meeting is now live.
All right. So we will go ahead and start the March 25th Building Board of Appeals meeting for City of East Lansing. And I think we're waiting for one person to call in. So we have a quorum. Is that underway?
His phone number is not showing up at this point for me to move him as a panelist.
Okay, we'll need a quorum to take any action, but we could get started while we're waiting to with the roll call. And as we learned last meeting, that you would indicate your name and the location where you're attending the meeting from. So if that was East Lansing, Ingham County. So Scott, would you take the roll?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that, Tim.
Okay, all right, Denise.
Authority members doing roll call, please state that you are attending remotely and the county, city, and state you are attending from. So we're waiting for Larry. Austin Brown.
Hello, I'm attending from East Lansing, Michigan and Ingham County.
Alan Drouar.
Hello, Alan Drouar, East Lansing, Michigan, Ingham County.
We're waiting for Liz. Tim Rosowski.
Tim Rosowski from my residence, East Lansing, Ingham County, Michigan.
Okay, now it is back to you, Tim.
Okay, so I guess just a point of.
This is the host. Larry's there, but he has to hit *6. He won't, I'm trying to unmute him, but he has to hit *6 so he can unmute himself, so he can be participating in the meeting to speak.
Is that in the works right now? Will you let us know when he's, so he won't show up on the Zoom screen at all, is that correct? Or will he show up as a telephone number?
He's the 254 number, I believe.
He's the 254 number, and he's got himself muted. He has to hit *6 to unmute him from the phone.
Larry, can you unmute yourself and we'll add you to the.
He have to do *6.
Am I unmuted? Can somebody hear me now?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
there you, yes.
So
I couldn't understand what you were saying.
We'll continue with the roll call then, Denise.
Okay. So Larry, I'm going to read this over again. Authority members doing roll call, please state that you are attending remotely and the county, city, and state you are attending from.
Okay.
Just state your name, your county, city, and state.
Larry Cross. I'm attending from my residence in East Lansing, Michigan, Ingham County.
Thank you.
Okay, so we now have a quorum and we'll move on to the agenda. So the first item is the approval of the agenda. You all received the agenda. So Scott or Denise, are there any additions to the agenda from the city side?
No.
No. Okay. Any additions suggested by any of the members?
No, we don't have anything.
Okay. So if there's no questions, then if we could have a motion to approve the agenda.
Hold on, Tim, 1 second. I was trying to get unmuted. You're going a little quick for me there.
Okay.
I recommend that we move item 4.1 to item 2.1 for the agenda.
Okay. So just Mike Davis's resignation letter.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So then with that as a change, we could proceed here. So we'll just take a roll call vote. So state your name and how you're voting to, I guess we need a motion to approve the agenda and then a second. Somebody make a motion.
Yeah, this is Alan.
Drew, I move that to approve the agenda.
All right,
This
Second.
is Austin Brown. I move to second.
okay, so we'll move on to a roll call then, vote, unless there's some discussion.
Okay.
All right.
Larry, Larry Cross,
Larry Cross, I approve the motion.
Austin Brown,
Austin Brown, I approve the motion, or the motion as well.
Alan Drewer,
I vote yes.
Tim Rozowski.
Yep, Tim Rozowski, I vote yes.
All
So
right.
the agenda is approved as submitted with that one change moving 4.1 to under item 2, communications. So we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from the February 10th meeting. Are there any questions or suggested changes? If so, state your name and what your item is.
This is Alan Drew. I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Okay, is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second. Austin Brown.
Okay, so moved by Gerard and seconded by Brown. Any discussion? Okay, then let's take the vote. So we'll do a roll call vote.
Larry Cross,
I think he just muted himself on accident.
Larry Cross, Austin Brown,
I vote yay.
Alan Drewer,
Yeah, Alan votes yes.
Tim Rozowski.
Yep, Tim Rozowski votes yes. Did we hear from Larry?
No,
Larry, if you could *6 and
I
unmute
think I
yourself.
have to unmute myself each time I speak.
yes, you
Is
do.
that correct? Pardon?
Yes, if you have your mute on. So
Well,
so,
I unmute it, but then the next time I try and talk, you don't hear me.
okay. How did you vote here for the minutes?
Approve.
Okay.
Okay, all right, good, thank you. So we'll move on to item 2, written communications. And then we moved 4.1 there. Are there any written communications other than Mike Davis's resignation letter?
No, that's all.
Okay, and I think that was included in the packet. And of course, he resigned because he's moved out of the area.
Yes.
Is there anything we need to do? Do we have to formally receive those communications, or is that more informational?
I think Tim is just more informational for the
Okay.
record.
All right, then moving on, we'll move on to item 3, communications from the audience. And per the rules, if there is any public comments, we'll limit those to 5 minutes. And then the board members will not have any questions during the public comment period. Do we have anybody who's joined or wishes to join for the public communications?
This is the host. There are 3 people listed as attendees. I'll go through their names and unmute them and give them 5 minutes to speak.
Okay,
Not to speak, they can just simply say pass, or if they're here for another item on the agenda, they can just hold their comments till then.
okay,
Jim Johnson, you are allowed to speak.
Yeah, this is actually Will Johnson. I must have,
Okay.
but I'm here for the Graduate Hotel. I'm with Johnson Sign Company, so I'll talk at that point.
Joshua Minster, you are now unmuted and are allowed to talk. Joshua Minster, would you like to address the board?
I'm sorry, I was on double mute. I was on mute on my computer and on my phone. Yes, thank you. This is Joshua Mincer. I'm here for the Graduate Hotel item 6.1, and we'll speak then. Thank you.
Neil Lintman,
Yes, I am here for Graduate Hotel. I can speak at that point.
all right, thank you. Chair, that is all the attendees.
Okay, all right, thank you. And so we'll move on with the agenda there. So we'll move on to, I'm going to move my screen over here. So board member concerns. These could be of general concerns. If anybody on the board has a question, they could raise that now. All right, give me a reaction if you wanted to speak here. If not, we'll move on. Austin or Alan or Larry?
Okay.
All good.
Okay, all right, so hearing no board member concerns, we'll move on to old business. We don't have any old business. So now we'll move on to new business, which is item 6.1, Graduate Hotel, located at 133 Avenue, Evergreen Avenue, applying for a variance, assigned variance. And so Jake, you will kind of, well, Scott, you'll introduce Jake, I guess, and Jake will talk through what this appeal is about.
Yes, so basically, we have two different sign issues here. One is a large sign that's 120 feet off of the ground. The sign needs to be 225 square feet in order to be seen at a distance. The font size G is one of the determining factors in the total sign area, and the code states that no one sign shall be greater than 120 square feet in surface display area. The second sign, sign B, is a vertical sign that measures 15 foot 4 inches tall and 16 inches wide, which would be mounted on a column at 28 inches wide. And the applicant is looking to center the sign on the column for aesthetic purposes, and the code states that no wall sign shall be placed closer than 12 inches to the side of a building line or at least space line. With that, Jake, if you want to take it from there.
Gladly. Hi, everyone. Jake Barcel from the Planning Department. So these are two signs in particular out of the sign package for the Graduate that don't meet code, but they're attempting to come here to everyone to discuss how we can work around that. So the way our code is written is you're allowed 2 square feet of sign frontage for each linear foot of a building face. And we judge that for each wall. So the structure is relatively large, and they're allowed in the 200s of how many square footage of wall sign they're permitted. But with the cap of 120 square feet, they're kind of limited by that part of the code. So they're wanting to stay with the larger sign. That is 225 square feet is the wall sign on the top, identifying the building as the Graduate, and then getting a variance for the part of the code that says no sign shall be greater than 120 square feet. Talking with Chair Morawski, we discussed a little bit about the nature of this building and how it's a little unique. So with all the 10 plus story buildings that have come into East Lansing in the last year, all of them are multi-tenant buildings. The way we address multi-tenant buildings is you have that set ratio. So if it's 100 linear feet of building, you have 200 square feet of sign to work with for all tenants in the building. So down at the hub, you have the hub, 7-Eleven, and Giorgio's all under that 200 square foot cap. But the Graduate is unique because it's the only tenant that will be in this building. It will just be the hotel. And the hotel's affiliated uses. There's nothing else that's going to be occupying the space that'll need a sign. And in comparison, for reference, the signs down at the hub are about 50 square feet. So it's larger, but it is to, in their intention, help identify the building. The second sign that has an additional variance, which you can split the motions or depending on how conversation goes, lump them together, is sign B. It's a vertical sign. It's 15 feet and 4 inches tall and 16 inches wide. It's down at the bottom there, right on the corner of what would be Evergreen and Grand River. This sign is a little more unique in terms of the placement. So you can only have the sign, or the sign cannot be within 12 inches of the side of a building. So in a suite, it's the least lot lines. At the edge of the building, it's the corner of the building where this sign is located. But the way that the facade is constructed is there's this vertical strip down there at the bottom left of this picture. And that's where the sign is going to be placed. So the way that the facade of the building is constructed actually kind of limits the options of where they can put this vertical sign on the corner. And that's why they're here in front of you today. I'm more than happy to take any questions. They have plenty of applicants here if they have anything else they want to expand on from what I had. But other than that, I'm here as a resource for you.
Can you also talk about the conforming signs and what facade those are on and their size?
Yes. So in the overall sign package, I know one of the signs is a interior sign. It is for the cafe, I believe, but the way that window sign is measured, window signs generally, one, don't need a permit unless they're electrical, and then they'll need an electric permit. But other than that, they don't need anything for that. And then they have signs above or on the east elevation. So this would be on the, it's hard to do this with one screen. The east elevation would be the one facing Evergreen Avenue that's above a door that I believe identifies the entrance to the building there with the graduate name. But other than that, there's really not many signs on the building. Just so happens that two of them are currently non-conforming as they are proposed.
Are either of them lighted signs? They're both
I believe that they are channel lit letters. So yes, they will be lighted. Yeah, the other sign is really small. Sign C, sorry, I can't remember what it was, but it's just above a door. So it really doesn't factor into the overall size anyway. It's about the size of the entrance door. So it's just these two signs. That one's 19 square feet. But other than that, yeah, there's only really 3 signs proposed, and then the interior sign for the cafe, and that'll say open, I believe, or something like that. And then the large wall sign on the Grand River Avenue sign face, and then the sign B, which is on the corner of Evergreen and Grand River Avenue.
Just from a protocol standpoint, if one of the members does have a comment or a question, and maybe just state your name before the question, just for the record. Okay, Jake. So we move on to the applicants. If they would like to make some comments about the project or the variance requests.
Yes, this is Josh Mincer. I represent the ownership of the hotel, also joined by Neil Littman and Will Johnson, who's the sign fabricator and also the sign installer. Thanks for the introduction on the signs, Jake. I think he explained everything perfectly. And I guess just addressing sign A first, which is the sign that we have pulled up here. So believe that the total square footage on this sign was about 215 square feet if measured using the rectangle system. As we understand, the rectangle is drawn around the outermost portions of the letters. If you notice, the sign is a little bit atypical because we are tracing the individual letters. It's not mounted on a panel at all. So there's a lot of dead space between the letters. One of the rationales for sizing it how we did, we actually based this sign off of a sign that we installed at our graduate hotel in Tucson, which is a similar height building, but effectively it needs to be about this tall or about this size to be seen. And this building sits at a very important intersection of Michigan Avenue and Grand River. And when you're coming down Michigan Avenue, you can see the hotel from quite a distance away, and you can't see the ground level at that point. So it's really, it's just a building without that sign. So really the rationale is, the representation of the sign and the brand, kind of as the entryway to the East Lansing community.
This is Neil from Triangle Sign. One of the other things that we also would like to point out, going along the same route as what Josh was speaking of, since the G is so large, and unfortunately this is their brand, there is so much dead space above and below the actual lettering, that's the RADUATE. If we had drawn boxes around just the G and just the RADUATE, and then we drew a small box around the T and the top of the D, we came up to, I think it was 130 square feet. So out of our 215 square feet, the majority of what we have there is dead space. Again, we are not, it's not one big, huge panel. There's, a huge amount of space in between, the open letter of the G and all the rest of the open script letters. The other thing is, since this sign is 120 feet in the air, in order for this to be able to be seen from a half a mile to a mile away, this is basically one of those skyline kind of signs that, when somebody is driving to their hotel, that they can kind of see off of the road as they're driving. If this is only allowed to be 120 square feet, it's going to look like a postage stamp at the top of a 10-story building. That's basically our rationale and our method of what we're looking for as far as leniency from your board.
Did the third attendee want to comment?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right,
Yes.
yeah, and you guys have done a great job explaining it, and I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but is this right now we're just talking about sign A, or if we should anything be mentioned about the second sign, or but I think again, Jake. Yeah, but yeah, and I think again, you guys have all done a really good job explaining this, and I think in most situations it is a no-brainer for a sign to need to be off the edge of the building. 12 inches seems reasonable, but just due to the unique nature of this building and where it's at, I'm sure you guys have driven by this site being built over the past year or so, and this column is on the second level there, and we have some renderings of what that looked like. That was basically, if you're looking at this, it's the G and the R and everything would be touching the edge of the other side of that column. So to get that sign centered in the column, I think aesthetically looks the best, and it's just due to the unique nature of this building. and Jake mentioned this earlier too, going back to the other sign, but I believe it's, 2 square feet of building signage per lineal foot of building that's facing a road. And so if I'm not mistaken, I think we'd actually have 3 elevations that we could do 120 square feet. And, adding all of our signs together, we're still, well under the square footage allowance. And we're just, I guess, requesting for some of that to go towards the one where we're lacking in others. So, and again, yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm with Johnson Sign Company, and we have a shop in Lansing, and we'll be your guys' local installer on this project. Very familiar with the area, installed many of the signs around East Lansing.
Hey, does that complete your presentation?
Believe so.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So what we'll do, I think, is we'll go, if for each member, if you have a comment or questions, so we'll just, so Alan, do you have any comments or questions?
I do. On the vertical signs, we've been talking about one, but it looks like there's 2 in the drawings. Could you bring up that first elevation and just kind of move your mouse around where the where is this sign actually located on here? If you can just.
Do you see the letter B to the lower left?
Yep.
And I don't know if you're able to zoom in on that, but it looks like it's actually in this elevation. It looks like it's part of the building, but that is a column just to the left. There's a similar column on the right, and those white lower rectangles, that's actually a glass railing. So that's a patio outside of the building. So there's one sign on that elevation of the column, which is facing east, and there is another one facing south, right there on the lower right corner.
This is Neil, a triangle sign. If you go to page 2, that shows you a plot plan of where each sign is located. And that is considered sign B. There you go, a little further down, right there. There's a circle around there. And that's at the intersection of Evergreen and West Grand River, where that column sits. So
right.
One of the sign face is vertically facing Evergreen. The other is vertically facing Grand River.
So they're on adjacent sides of the same column. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then back to the elevation, can you just kind of roughly show at what height off the ground, how tall is this sign? I just want to get an idea. Where's the bottom and where's the top-ish?
On B, or for sign B?
Yeah.
If you go to page 11.
So roughly the bottom of the sign is at 16 feet above sidewalk, and it goes up to about 31 feet above the sidewalk.
I did have one other question, Mr. Chairman, and that has to do with the horizontal sign at the top. Does that only face Grand River, Michigan?
Yes.
Okay. So I was driving in that area today, and if you're close to that building, these signs are irrelevant, at least the one at near the top, but I guess that's why the column signs are being proposed. And then can somebody, maybe city staff, can you show us how the square footage is being measured on that sign?
Yeah. Whoever is controlling this screen, if you can go down a couple pages from there, it's page 7 out of 16 overall. I'll tell you when to stop. They're right there. Up one, please. Yeah, so we have to cover, the way our sign code's written is you have to cover the entire, what is called the rectilinear area of everything. So the sign from top to bottom of G are the highest and lowest points. So that's 11 feet. And then from the edge of the G to the end of the T, which actually is the furthest point horizontally, it's 19 feet, 7 inches, and 7.7 out of 16 inches. So it's the entire rectangle area that covers the whole sign. So it comes out to 215.82 square feet.
And what would be allowed?
120.
That's all my questions for now.
Yep, that's what's allowed for the largest size that one sign can be. But yeah, the other comment I want to just throw in here really quickly right now is there was a mention that the way we measure it is 2 square feet of sign face for each linear foot of the building, and this is only on one wall. We do take everything wall by wall. It's not by the whole building square footage. So this would be just the sign allowance for, you know, the south edge of the building, et cetera. So we can't really give and go from side to side like that. But it's kind of irrelevant. This building's so long.
And I take it you sent notices to surrounding properties?
Yep, we notice everything within 300 square feet for the requirement for the Building Board of Appeals. Denise would have done that.
Alan, we can circle back to you if you come up with some additional questions. Moving on to Austin, do you have any comments or questions?
I don't have any questions at this time, no.
Okay. Larry, you need to unmute yourself.
You see if I can get so you can hear me again.
Yes, we
yeah, I had. I would kind of like to propose that we treat these two as separate items. I think the lower one is an entirely different problem than the big one up on top. So maybe it would behoove us to split them up and do them separately.
We can do that.
I also think that it's on the lower sign, it's very logical to center it. It would be asinine to have it off center. So if it's there at all, it should be centered. And I would think that as long as the sign is within limits, which it is by quite a bit, there's no problem with centering it on this, because the sign ordinance, I'm sure, was not made for a freestanding column. It was made for a surface, a wall, and this is not connected to the wall at that point. So I think that's enough for now.
Okay, and then as chair, I'll just make my comments. You know, I looked at this, went through the documentation and kind of drove the area, looked at some of the other big buildings that, you know, have recently been built from kind of Lansing through East Lansing. And to me, a sign smaller than this would seem too small. When you approach this from the west, and I was commenting to Jake earlier, when I go to a city and I'm going to stay at a hotel, I actually kind of welcome the fact that I can see my destination before I get there. So I think this idea of being able to read your location a half mile away is very, very reasonable. I think it's a little bit different than some of the other buildings, the taller buildings that we built, in the sense that the use as a hotel, I mean, an apartment building, typically people would know where their apartment building is, but with a hotel, frequently you may have you know, outside visitors. And I think that the fact that it kind of fits neatly into that, you know, approximately 3-foot band or 4-foot band of glass at the top kind of gives us a really good way to gauge the scale of this sign. So, but just by driving by, you can see, you can imagine how this would be. So I personally, I think this sign is very appropriate for the scale of the building, in the fact that there's only a single user for the building. So I think that was a comment that Jake made. But also, and what Alan's observation was, you know, once you approach it from Michigan Avenue to about Jonas there, you know the building. So, you know, I think the idea of having something lower actually helps identify the building there. So personally, I think both of these requests, from my perspective, are very appropriate. So we could cycle back around. Alan, did you have any additional comments?
Yes, I have another question. So the length of that wall that we're talking about for the taller sign is what?
The overall length of the building. The applicant might know. I'd have to go pull that up.
Ish. Right. You got.
It must be over 100 feet.
Yeah, I can't read it down here on the.
I guess I just have some. I guess let's not get.
You can continue ahead, and I can add it up.
Yeah. So what I'm starting to think is, remember, this sign code probably was written at a time when we weren't building these taller buildings, and I think that they are a different animal. I know that the sign code was put in place to control some very specific problems that we had, but mostly at ground level. So I guess I would. We don't have our city council rep, do we? I don't know how we would go about doing this, but we might want to put together a recommendation or a committee or a team to discuss the special circumstances of taller buildings, and maybe make a recommendation for modifying the sign code.
We could certainly pass that along. I'm not sure what the appropriate group is to do that, whether that's city council, planning commission, us. Jake, you have a comment on that?
Yeah, the planning and zoning team are the ones who generally make the comments and changes to the sign code. So,
did they have any comment on this variance?
Nope. I'm the representative from there, and I've given you what my thoughts are. So,
are you a voting member, Jake, or you're a staff member, right?
I'm a staff member, but when it comes to changing the sign code, I would be the person in front of council with the staff report and the write up and stuff. So, generally, ordinance changes of the sign code go through planning and zoning, despite building board of appeals being the ones to read the variances.
Did planning and zoning get a chance to look at this?
Yeah, I reviewed everything for compliance with the sign code. That's where I found that.
I'm at the board, sorry. Zoning.
Oh, no. The planning commission
yeah.
doesn't work with the variances like that. You guys are the board, so they haven't seen it.
Right, I got you.
Anything else, Alan?
Not right now. I mean, I guess I'll just give some indication what I'm thinking. I don't have any problem with the vertical signs on the column, the way it's proposed. I personally don't have a problem with the sign at the top either, although I hate to go rogue and be writing ordinances at at an appeal board level. I wish we could have something to sink our teeth into for rationale.
Well, I think one element, this is Tim, the chair, one element is simply that it is a single tenant building, which is different than the other big or taller buildings that have been built recently. So that may be one unique area. But it's my understanding we don't need to find, hardship, or we have some flexibility to kind of look at these, each case. Austin, did you have any comments or questions?
I'm in agreement with the other members on the board. I don't have a problem with the vertical or horizontal signs granting those variants.
Okay, Larry, did you have any comments or questions?
Whoops, I did have, I think that there might be some rationale to doing more than one rectangle. Do the G as a rectangle and then just increase the higher little letters, and you'd have just about, you could get it down to where it's awfully close to the 120 square feet. And that would seem that this is an unusual situation where we could justify changing the overall rectangle concept. This doesn't really seem to fit into that. The only other way to do it would be to make the G a whole lot the same size as the rest of the letters, and then you kind of, that doesn't seem to fit too well to me either. So I think if we could use the sign the way it is, but figure the areas a little tighter, so to speak, that we could make it to where it's a reasonable, maybe we don't even need an appeal then. That'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I think I agree with all the comments there. And I have a project I'm doing in another city, and the way they measure is they ignore the dropped, like if you have a lowercase word and you had a G that extended below, they don't count that actually in the counting. And then logos are counted as their own separate rectangle. And in this case, to me, the G sort of serves as a logo, or as at least part of the logo. So I think I like Larry's reasoning there. That may be a different way of measuring, although I think the city has, the city's been consistent in how they've measured in the past. Okay, so any additional comments from the applicant?
I have none. Thank you.
Okay, so hearing none then, would somebody like to make a motion? And we can honor Larry's request to make two separate motions and votes.
Let me take the easy. I'll take the easy one. I move that we accept the vertical graduate sign as written, and due to the fact that it wouldn't be. I guess let me be articulate about this, Denise. I'll start over. Okay. The motion is to approve the vertical sign appeal because it would look better for the letters to be centered on the column, or it would look appropriate. And if you don't mind, Tim, you can just fix up that language later if you don't mind.
So no, actually, I think you're pretty close there. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion, sure.
All right, so motion by Gerard and seconded by Brown. And any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, let's do a roll call vote. Again, state your name and your vote.
Larry Cross,
Larry Cross, I approve the motion as submitted.
Austin Brown,
Austin Brown, I vote yay on the motion.
Alan Drouar,
Alan Drouar votes yes.
Tim Rozowski.
Tim Rozowski, yes. Okay, so the motion passes, so that variance is approved. So we'll move on to the second, the taller sign, the one at the end there. So anybody would like to make a motion?
Let's not jump up all at the same time. Oh, I poop.
Larry Cross, I move that we approve the upper sign, taking into account the, as Tim said, the icon, the G being the icon, which would give it a little bit different, and we could figure the area a little tighter, and then it would be a complying sign. So I would move approval.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second that as well.
All right, so motion by Cross, seconded by Brown. So any discussion of the motion?
I guess I would just like to ask that we just add some more rationale into the motion. For instance, I don't know if somebody can calculate the percent of opacity on the compared to what staff comes from a size, that 215 square foot. How much of that is really surface area of the sign? Because, we do have a low percentage of actual density on that sign. And also the height being that it's, what they say, 120 feet off the ground. Because I just, we gotta be careful of the precedent we might set here.
You want to put that in terms of an amendment to the motion?
That's what I'm asking. So Larry, I think, we all agree that there's not much sign in that 215 square foot, and somebody could just calculate the actual area compared to the rectangular area and add that into the motion later.
Well, if you included just the rectangular areas for the G and the rest of the word and the D and the T, I think if you counted the area that way, you would have it. Am I on?
You are.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Larry. I think that might be an easier way to justify it, that if we took the, because of the height, which is unusual in the single tenant, and if we figured the area a little bit tighter, that we would be fine. We're not destroying the sign ordinance ideas.
I think that's a good point. Jake, if the G was a logo,
Yeah.
and it was separated from the word graduate, and let's say they had placed the G logo in a different location from the body of the sign, would you have measured the G as its own rectangle and then the rest of the sign as its own rectangle?
Probably not. To be honest.
Let's say they were 50 feet apart. So they were.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If it's generally the way, if it's applied for and asked for is one sign is they're asking, if they're, here and here, then it's one sign. If it's here and then on the next corner here, it's two wall signs. So, I mean, it's fluid. But if it depends. Yeah, it would have to be, far enough apart where it would be a distinct sign of its own. In terms of looking at something as a logo, I can't. I look at things in the aggregate as legally required. So it's a sign or it's not a sign, and it's a size and it's not a size to me. It could say whatever say whatever they wanted on there, and it wouldn't be anything different to me.
Yeah.
But I will say that the channel letters being approximately 3.75 feet in height for the RA, lower part of the D, UA, lower part of the T and the E, and then timesing that by the overall length of the sign gets you to about 74 feet. And then if you take into account the bottom part of the G, top part of the G, and the D and the T, it would be probably, I mean, your assumptions are probably correct. It would probably be ballpark around 100 to 110, which would put it in legal allowance. But just how we're required to measure it is what makes it 215 for my purposes. But the letter G is 11 feet tall, and the rest of the channel letters are 3 feet 7 inches tall. So that should give you some perspective on the height difference.
Now we could also add though the single tenant aspect of this, and I think the need.
Am I still here?
Yeah, I think Tim broke up.
Everything went quiet. I thought, couldn't tell.
Hey, you there, but I don't know what happened to Tim.
Well, I don't know either.
While we're waiting for him to rejoin, what would be the
Need for wayfinding.
What's the significance of the single tenant versus multiple tenant? That a multi-tenant building doesn't.
So you're allowed so if you have a 10-foot wall that, is an infinitely high building, you're allowed 20 square feet of sign because the linear width of that wall is 10 feet, no matter what. So if you have 5 tenants and it's in your lease agreement, you're allowed or allotted to X amount of the overall sign allotment, then you get a certain amount. So down at the hub sign is 50 square feet. The 7-Eleven sign could be 50 square feet. And then let's say a third tenant comes in, Giorgio's, and they want a sign, and they're only allowed a certain amount of feet because the overall wall can only have the square footage can only be twice of what the linear foot is. Since the Graduate is one tenant, there's never going to be another tenant that will be using the sign allotment. So it's unique that way. It's the largest building that is a single tenant building that's currently in downtown.
But if multiple tenant buildings aren't allowed larger signs or anything like that.
It would still be capped at 120 square feet, but whatever they're allowed has to be separated amongst the tenants. So yeah, that's kind of the significance of that is that no one else will come in here and then not be allowed to put a sign up.
Yeah.
I think Tim's trying to talk. I think he's muted still.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I think Alan raised a good point in the beginning, which is what's the other signage on the building? And so I think that right now there's no proposal to propose any, like a similar thing, whether it was 120 square feet or whatever on the east wall. So, we're kind of relying on, this is the total sign package. Is there any intent to add 120-foot sign on the east wall? Or should we put that as a condition of granting?
Not to my knowledge. I think the
You
difference.
don't have, there's not a whole lot of vision on the east side.
Yeah,
and I don't see any reason to have anything on the north side, which is basically residential.
Yep. This is the Grand River Avenue is the only street that faces what we call a major street in East Lansing. The rest of it is facing the other building and most likely soon to be another tall building.
But on MAC, they could put another 120 square foot sign.
MAC is not a street that borders.
Not MAC, Abbott, on Abbott.
No, they're off Abbott. There's Evergreen Avenue in the middle, and then there's the other building, other Park District building on the corner with the Rite Aid.
Yeah,
and
okay, yeah, all right, I got you. Yeah, okay, yeah, makes sense.
Yep, there is that wall, the east wall, which faces Evergreen and faces the other building.
Yeah.
There's the sign over the door, but it's small.
Yeah, okay. All right,
So-
are there any other comments or
Yeah, so
questions?
just,
Right?
just a little bit of lightheartedness. We can take comfort in the fact that this is a sign facing MSU telling the students to graduate.
There you go. All right, okay, any other comments?
Can we call the question?
Yep, we'll call the question. So Denise?
Okay,
Denise?
yes, had to find my button. Larry Cross,
Aye. Or yes, whatever you want.
okay. Austin Brown,
I vote yes.
Alan Druroff,
I vote yes.
Tim Rosowski.
It's frozen.
Tim,
We lost our leader.
again.
Oh, it looks like he might be back.
Yeah,
Tim?
I keep cutting out. I'm back now, yes. Are there any announcements?
No. You haven't voted yet.
No, I did vote. Yeah, I voted yes, but I may be,
Oh,
my
okay.
internet might have cut out. Yes, I voted yes. So
All right.
So you didn't hear me. I had some very intelligent things to say. But no, the motion passes. And so we'll move on to announcements. Are there any announcements?
None.
All
No.
right, so we'll move on to adjournment. So could we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Larry?
Motion by Cross, seconded by,
I'll second this one as well.
okay, Austin. Very good. All right, so let's take a roll call vote. So I'll, Denise, on adjourning the meeting.
Larry Cross,
Yes.
Austin Brown,
I vote yay.
Ellen Drewer.
Before, I just want to, I have a quick comment before we leave. I don't know, do we,
Well, let's finish the vote first.
okay, but the meeting will be over at that point though, won't it?
Oh,
I just, I think by our new standard, we'll have to meet next month to make sure we approve the minutes. And so, is that right? Okay, yes.
yes,
Great.
yes.
So how do you vote, Alan?
I voted yes.
Okay,
Okay,
and
Tim Rozowski,
I vote yes. All right, so that
thank
ends,
you.
that ends our March 25th Building Board of Appeals meeting. So, all right, see you next month.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.